Oh, all right, we're recording.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting scheduled for Tuesday, February 16th at 7:30 p.m. This is an online virtual meeting. The Planning and Zoning Commission will meet remotely Tuesday, February 16th. Let's call it order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody could please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, liberty, and justice.
for all.
Thank you. All right, let's start with the roll call, and we'll start on the side of the room where we typically would like to get to at some point down the road. So Mary, if you could kick it off.
Sure. Mary Lopresti,
Pizza Brass.
John Kerwin.
Dave Sauter.
Echo Torello.
Dan Wall.
No, Brett.
No,
So
Brett, yeah.
that would be me,
That'll be you, Jess.
Jessica Pennell.
Steve McCary.
Evan McSherry.
Wonderful. Thanks for joining, Kevin. Okay, so Mary, I am going to seat you for Brett since he is not, actually, except for Brett, because Brett was unsure if he was going to be able to make the meeting. So I will
okay.
seat you for Brett.
Mhm.
And,
And I did listen to the tape. I did do the video.
I was just about to ask. That's wonderful. And Dan?
Yeah, I forgot to comment on that. I did miss the last meeting, but I also watched the video.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, alternates are all set. Mary, thanks for jumping in there.
Sure.
Public hearings, recessed public hearings, we do not have any. New public hearings is none, and future public hearings is none. For regular meeting business, do we have any amendments to the agenda?
Mm-mm.
Okay, hearing none. Next up would be our audience of citizens. Is there anybody in attendance that would like to comment and discuss something that is not on the agenda tonight? Again, to our audience, is there anybody who would like to say anything about anything that is not currently listed on the agenda? Finally, one more time, is there anybody in the audience who would like to comment on anything that is not currently on the agenda? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. For correspondence, we have a couple of things noted here. Pat, could you?
Okay, yes, we do. We have from the Office of the First Selectman a memorandum dated February 8th to all town boards, commissions, and committees. Appointments, reappointments. Please note that it is the responsibility of each board, commission, or committee to request reappointments or new appointments when members' terms end. We kindly request that you take this time to review your members' terms and expirations. All appointments and reappointments will need to be approved by the Board of Selectmen. If action is required, please submit a written request to the Selectmen's office at your earliest convenience. Please feel free to contact this office should you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the other one is the quarterly newsletter from the Connecticut Federation of Planning and Zoning Agencies. And you all have a copy of this online, I assume. So I'm not going to read it all into the record.
No. All right, thanks, Pat. Jess, sometime over the next week or so, if you could get me a list of everybody on the commission and their appointment dates, that would be helpful. That's probably just handy to have on hand anyway, but that'll just let us know if we have to take any action with this.
Okay, I do have that all set. I will email it to you tomorrow.
You're the best. Thank you.
Yep.
Easy peasy. All right, moving on to old business matters on which a public hearing was held. There weren't any. Old business, other matters. We have actually a combination of two applications here that we were discussing together. Z21-0123 Woodruff Hill Road, also known as Lot 5, owner Town of Oxford, 486 Oxford Road, Oxford, Connecticut. The applicant being Oxford Enterprises LLC, 20 Old Country Road, Oxford, Connecticut. in conjunction with Z21-0137 Woodruff Hill Road, also known as Lot 6. Owner Town of Oxford, 486 Oxford Road, Oxford, Connecticut. Applicant Oxford Enterprises LLC, 20 Old Country Road, Oxford, both for a site plan application. Now, where we had left this off at our meeting a couple of weeks ago, we had referred everything over to Jim Galligan for comment, and everybody in the commission should have those comments from Jim Galligan in your meeting packet, as well as the Civil One response, to the comments that Jim had posted for everybody. So I wanted to open that up for discussion. If anybody had any comments in terms of what Jim had stated and the responses that came from Civil One. And I see that the applicant is also here as well too. So I'm open to, if anybody has any questions or anything like that, follow-ups. Let's take advantage of that to make sure that everybody's in a good place and on the same page.
Yeah, excuse me, Chairman Souter, may I ask a question? This is Mary
Go ahead.
Lopez. Sure. In Jim Galligan's letter on number 7, he's stating 2 inches of bituminous concrete for the proposed use is too thin. Please increase, but he doesn't give an amount that it should be increased to. Now, in the response, they said that it was increased to 4 inches. So do we know that that's the correct amount to be for the increase?
That I don't know the answer to.
Did Jim, can I just interject?
Absolutely.
Hi, Dave. This is John Kerwin for the record. Didn't Jim file a response saying that they had no additional comments?
Yes.
So I think if there was an issue, my understanding is that would have been addressed. He would have said, no, we need 6. So I think in not having any additional comments, I guess he likes the 4-inch base there.
So John, that letter was in response to the response from the company that's building on those 2 lots.
Yeah, they kind of narrow it down. So if there were any questions, he would then have an additional, response to that number 7, saying, I don't think 4 is enough. I think 8 is enough. Or, so the fact that he said he was done, that he had no more comments, and that's always been my understanding. And anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that eliminates his concern over that 4 inches. That he's satisfied with that. Is that how everyone else understands it?
Yeah, that's how I would.
Yes, if Jim Galligan, sent a no more comments, I would assume that everything is acceptable engineering wise at this point.
Yep. And for the record, Brian Baker with Civil One, just to jump in, I did talk to Jim after we sent our response letter and clarified with him. We had 2 paving details on the plan. One called for just a 2-inch layer, and then another called for 2 2-inch layers. The detail that calls for just 1 2-inch layer was just the access drive down to the detention basins, so just for maintenance. But the 2 2-inch layers is what's going in through the entire parking lot and the driveway. And he said, I agree, and told me he would get that, what we call in the business, clean letter over to Jessica and Steve, which he did. So I believe he's all set.
Okay, thank you for the clarification, Brian.
Yep.
Thank you, Mary.
Dave, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it. Okay, Pete.
I'd like to talk to the engineer on this. This is a scale in the driveway to weigh trucks with?
Correct.
All right, how long is that scale?
Hang on 1 second.
I believe it's 40 feet.
40 foot?
Yeah, that looks right, Darren.
All right, is that going to be open to the public? The scale itself?
In what aspect would that
As
mean?
far as weighing, I worked for a moving company. We had to weigh our trucks, and there was a scale in town, we could use it. Would that be the same thing here?
I wasn't planning on it. I mean, not really. if somebody needed to, I guess I would allow them, but I wasn't planning on that being a use for it, no.
Okay.
Especially as you know, it's a 40-foot scale, so it's really not
Yeah.
for tractor trailers anyways.
Right, sometimes they can weigh their
Right.
weight by wheels too, so.
Yep,
axles,
you can split weigh it, yep.
Yeah. Another question, that driveway, it's kind of hard to read these here papers. How wide is that driveway?
30 foot
30,
wide.
that 30 foot?
Yep.
And how far is the scale from the road itself? That's right in the entrance, right? We
Yeah,
have
you
one-
come down, it's a 50 foot front setback there, that's dashed line, so you get another 10 foot for road. It's about 65 feet off of the edge of pavement.
Okay,
I'm scaling it now, it's like 70 and change.
70 and change.
Yeah.
Okay. Would it be possible to move it up some? For the simple fact, if you have 2 or 3 trucks there, they're gonna be wind up going into the road or into the block in the driveway. You think you can move it another maybe 40 foot up? Would that be a problem?
I actually had a thought where I was thinking about moving it to the other side of the driveway and push it like all the way in. Cause I thought about that after
Yeah,
the
because
last meeting. I thought we might move that over there.
you only have one driveway here, right?
One entrance, correct.
Yeah, and that might wind up to be a problem if you're weighing somebody and somebody's coming in or somebody's coming out, you're gonna wind up with,
Right.
a traffic tie-up right there, so maybe if you could even set it off driveway somehow.
I was almost thinking about putting one for inbound on the opposite side further up and then leaving that one there for outbound.
That'd be great,
Yeah, let's
would
do
really
that.
be
I'm
great.
cool with it.
because, not just for that, but the fire trucks also, if they have to get in there and something's blocking that, they have
Yep.
2 entrances to get in there, they probably appreciate that too.
Yep.
Yeah, otherwise, I don't see any more problems there, Did a nice job.
Thank you. Well, thanks to Civil One too.
Yeah, they're good.
They're not cheap, but they're good.
Get what you pay for.
Yeah, for sure. I'm all set, Dave. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Just jotting some notes down here. Okay. Anybody else on the commission have anything that they would like to bring up?
Oh, one more thing.
Go ahead.
Okay, actually, we'll circle back around, Pete.
Okay, fine.
Thanks. John, you were about to say something?
Yeah, my concern was with item 1 about the easement. And actually kind of have egg on my face because that really wasn't an engineering thing. We should have picked that up. The right to pass easement for the 2 lots. Luckily, Jim caught it. Would that be a problem? I note that you said that you didn't want to file them, but our concern, the concern of or at least my concern, I think, is that, it's not necessarily our job to pass things on to later commissions. And so if there was some kind of involuntary divestment of the properties, you would have, and the lots, were not jointly owned anymore. That lot 5, I think, or it's in favor of lot 6, they wouldn't have, that lot would not have access, and it doesn't comply with Article 3, Section 3.22, which requires, it's not owner dependent, but it's lot dependent, that both lots have access. So would you have an objection to, actually filing the easements on the land records as opposed to holding them?
So
I know
Darren, that would be, I think Darren would probably, you may want to just talk to your land use attorney and make sure that he doesn't have any issue with that. I mean, you're basically giving an easement to yourself, because you own both lots. And we've kept them separate for both permitting and financing issues. So I know there was the discussion of the other consideration that may happen, which would be Darren's decision would be to combine them, into one lot down the road, and that would get rid of the need for the easement.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then the easement would actually be void because you can't have an easement on one piece of property. And I would imagine if you are thinking of encumbering one of those lots, doing separate mortgages, I don't see a mortgage company granting a mortgage where there's not independent access to that one lot through an easement. So that's the kind of thing that it's kind of the responsibility of the zoning commission to avoid potential litigation. Let's say, God forbid, something happens, you lose one of the pieces of property. Whoever takes then title to that lot 6, if they don't have independent access, they turn around and look to the town to say, hey, how come you approved this lot without independent access when you have a regulation that requires each lot to have access to the town road system? So the way to alleviate that would be through the granting of the easement. So,
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, that's easy enough, Darren. Since we did the survey work, it's literally a matter of filing another, we filed a survey for the existing conditions already. It'd be filing another map on the land records with the easement shown.
and I know that Attorney McSherry's here. I think that's probably best we hear from him on what he thinks.
I think Commissioner Kerwin is correct in that you need to provide separate access as long as the lots are separate and distinct. And that's, I don't think the commission can allow for the approval of that lot having access. If down the road you decided to put the two lots together and merge them under the doctrine of the merger, the easement would be eliminated and evaporated like it didn't exist. But right now you need to have both there. And I think any lending institution will require you to demonstrate you had access to both lots, even if you're financing on them separately. They'd want to have access. And certainly I don't think the commission has the authority to approve something that doesn't have a lot that doesn't have access.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds fair enough to me.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yep.
That's all I had, Dave. Thank you.
You had an additional question?
Just on the parking places, how many employees are you gonna have?
How many employees?
Yes, sir.
I would say between 15 and 20.
And supposedly you got,
I think we have 36 or 38 parking spots.
39.
39.
Now. We added
39.
7 more.
all right. Okay, so you have enough of parking spots then. And would that be for trucks and for cars?
That would be for personal vehicles of the personnel working. All my vehicles will be inside. The facility's large enough.
Okay, great.
So it's
Thank you.
just employee and visitor parking, really.
All right, so thank you. Appreciate it.
Anybody else on the commission have any comments or questions for the applicants? Or any other discussion regarding the comments we received back?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said nothing here. I'm good, Pat.
Thanks, Dan.
My only comment at this point is that if we can have Attorney McSherry draw up an approval that covers all of the points that were brought up, I think, we can move forward with this at the next meeting.
We're glad to.
Just to summarize, I think there were 2 conditions we were looking at, one regarding the easement and then one regarding the shifting of the scale, I think were the 2 things that we talked about.
And the other entrance. He was talking about putting another entrance in instead of moving the scale.
No, another
Am I right?
scale.
Another scale.
Right.
So
Do
that
we
way,
want to just do the scale on the plot plan and then he only has to deal with the easement?
I'm okay with that.
Should Civil 1 just, just show the other scale and then that handles that?
I'm fine. I'm very comfortable with that. And that way, yeah. So then we just have to put the single condition in there regarding the easement, and then we can put this forward and move this. Yeah, I can't guarantee, but can move this to a decision at the next meeting.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, the only other item I see in the note is a $15,000 bond for the soil and erosion that's called out in the item 12. And Davis and Young's letter. So that,
Yeah.
I think that should be included in the approval.
You can include that in the approval. I think they agreed to that in the response, but if you want to include that in the approval, that's fine.
Thank you.
Mhm. Any other comments from anybody on the commission?
No, sir.
Hearing none, then I will entertain a motion to table this to our next meeting and leave this with Attorney McSherry to draft up an approval so we can discuss and take action on it in 2 weeks.
I'll
So
second that.
moved.
Second,
Yes, sir. Pete?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing none, motion carries. All right, great. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it, and we will talk to you at our next meeting.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Good
Good
evening.
night.
Good night.
Aye.
Ready. Please excuse the chairman for one moment. He lost his agenda in a pile of paper. Been waiting for that to happen. All righty.
Dave, did we get a sign from him from the last one? Did we get a sign display?
Did we? No, I don't think we got a sign. I thought, did we ask he wasn't gonna have a sign?
I remember him saying no, or reading somewhere, I might be confusing though. I thought said he wasn't gonna have a sign.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of triggering.
Yeah. Well, he would have to comply anyway with all our regs, so.
It's one of the standard COAs anyway, comply with the requirements anyway, so.
Okay, cool.
Make a note here about that. Okay, moving on with the agenda, new business, schedule a public hearing, none. New business, Z21-015, a new application for 276-1 Oxford Road, H-102. The owner and applicant, Oxford Town Center LLC, 220-2F Main Street, Oxford, Connecticut. This is a use permit for rheology, Coldwell Banker. And
Mr. Chairman.
yes,
Unless I'm missing something, in all the documents that I received, I don't have any site plan or plot plan or anything to show me just where in that complex this is.
Yeah.
let's see here.
Well,
Just
thank you.
received- I'm not sure who took the application in, but do you recall seeing anything about the physical location of where this is going to be?
Yeah, it's right near the Verizon. There's a picture.
Yeah, there's a picture, yeah. Right there.
Yeah, photo.
Yeah,
I see pictures of a storefront, but I don't see anything that specifically locates it on a site plan or plot plan or whatever you want to call it.
This is just for a use. It's,
Yes, this is just a use permit.
Building ID H102. And then on the top, I think the building's already built.
Oh, so this is going into an existing
Right.
building. One, two, I thought it showed. Okay, it shows signage on 3 sides. So I thought it was a freestanding building. My mistake, sir. I'm very sorry.
No, that's okay. I wasn't 100% sure either, so it's a valid question.
And Pat, I had the same problem the last time, but it'd be nice if they told us which, just for our own
Picture.
edification.
I need a picture. That's all.
Exactly.
With a little arrow, show the map and say it's going right here.
Yeah.
That's all they have to do.
Yep.
But there is a picture there that if you squint, you can see it.
You can see it exactly. Yeah, Jess and Steve, when these come in, maybe it's a good question we can ask at the time, and that way we can, have a better idea in terms of where it's located and what's happening. So,
Circles and arrows and notations on the back.
Yep. Yeah, you've asked me to do that. I'm sorry. I'll get something prepared next time, moving forward.
okay. All right. So, Pat, with your question being answered, do you want to have a conversation regarding the use permit itself? Is there any comments or questions or things that you folks would like to discuss? It looks pretty straightforward.
It's a real estate office, unless it's a front for something else, I'm good with it.
Yeah, I didn't see anything that kind of jumped off or anything like that, and makes sense, and I think it's a good addition. Nobody from the applicant's not here, so there's no questions we can ask, but I don't see anything. Anybody have any thoughts?
With the visibility from 67, I had wished there was some color renditions for what color this building was going to be. We went through this with the Five Guys, if you remember correctly.
It was what, I'm sorry?
The color. What color? Yeah.
Looks like stone, Pat.
No, the other part, the part that's
Nah.
the drawing.
I want to say it's blue, only because of my experience
like
with the company.
Yeah, it doesn't, well, it's a franchise. I think all their stuff has to be the same, like blue and white,
All right.
I think in the plans, that might be the actual color.
Yeah, I think so too. That's what I was just gonna say, John. I think it is. What's in the plan?
Yeah.
I know I like
That's
the
when-
design better than most of them down there. It's tasteful, understated.
Yeah.
Jess is raising her hand, so I'm going to call on Jess for a moment.
I know, Pat, you're looking at the paper
Yeah.
and that's black and white, but the ones that they did that are in the packet online do show the blue.
Okay.
Okay, just if you want to check it out.
Okay.
I know you
thank
have the black and white.
There's some colors on here marked white and electric. Where was it? On the page, the last page, the last two pages. If you squint real close, you can see where it says color white. It's got some arrows going towards it. Trim's colored white. The rest I can't, mine's all blurred, even with a flashlight. Semi-gloss. Aluminum brake. Letter forms. It's all blurred, I can't read it.
It looks like it's the same color as the logo.
Yeah, probably.
Right.
All right. Well, that resolves it then. I say I was
Okay.
just looking at this black building and it was, yeah, I don't know about that. Because we went through this with the Five Guys when they were going to paint the whole thing red.
It says LED power supply for letters.
All right. That's the lighted,
The sign. Before the
the
sign,
lighted
I guess.
sign.
I'm not gonna guess.
No. I also know that, they have they're looking for consistency in terms of what their buildings and signage and everything are looking like in that particular stretch as well too. So I don't think he's going to, they're going to put forward something that's going to be that out of norm in terms of what they're looking at in Quarry Walk overall. So I'm okay with it, but I'm obviously open to if there's anybody else that has concerns.
Good.
Okay. All right, so if there's no other discussion, do we want to entertain a motion to approve? I didn't hear.
Do we have a motion prepared?
Jess, you're muted, Jess.
I'm on mute. If you guys do it, I'll include all the standard conditions, in the, the ones that we usually have.
We could do it tonight, and I can move with the amendment that Jess add in, that they use the color schemes as presented in the plans, the blue and the white. Would that be acceptable to everyone?
Yeah.
Can we get this
That's
done today?
reasonable.
That's fine.
Fine, yeah.
And
So
so,
we have a motion from John with his amended
And a second.
comments. Second from Pete. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, not hearing any, the motion carries.
Jess,
Thank
you
you,
have
John.
that,
Good call on that.
What, John?
yes, you've got that condition with the color scheme, approved with the color scheme as depicted in the plans submitted?
Yep. Yep.
Good.
Got it.
Excellent. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, next up, we have zoning enforcement. And Steve, you still on the line?
I am.
Okay, I will turn it over to you. I know you had a few things you wanted to let us know about.
Yes, the last meeting, you guys asked about Good Hill Road. I went out to the property. He's pretty much shut down for the winter, but he had some new logs in the back, probably 15 or 20. Old stuff in the front. He's slowly picking away at it. He did send some emails and correspondence on that, and he is adamant he's not taking in any more wood, but we did see him, a couple truckloads go in by one of the commissioners. So, you know, we'll have to take it from there and see what his actions are in the next month or so. We gave him, I sent him a notice last June. It's probably on the drive, so it's been a long time. So I don't know what you guys want to do. Dave and I and John Cronin are working on a spreadsheet that's coming along really well to keep track of complaints forms, people in the office, et cetera, which will work well because we can refer back to it. But you do not have that in front of you.
Steve?
Yeah.
Just to, again, I want to take them one at a time, and then if anybody has any questions, they can ask. Regarding the Drayton property, so you went out and looked at it since the last meeting, correct?
Correct, a few times.
Okay, and you know, you noticed the logs in the back. My question for you is that, I mean, we're covered with snow right now, so you'd be able to see pretty easily if that is being brought in from outside sources as opposed to what's coming from inside. So did you see anything that would indicate that those new logs were being brought in from an external source?
You know, somebody saw a truckload going in there, but you know, I would think they're from an external source.
Hold on, wait a second. Let's take that back for a second. The truckload that John saw was a couple of months ago. So I'm looking.
That's talking about.
Right. So I'm talking. You know, we've had a ton of snow in the last couple of weeks, so we should be able to.
No tracks, no anything going in there.
So there was no evidence of any activity in terms of, you know, the person bringing, you know, having any logs or anything brought in from an outside source. There was no evidence of that.
Correct.
Okay, that's what we need, you know, and again, what we agreed upon at the last meeting is we want to make sure that we're going out there every 2 weeks. So there's a fresh report or a new report for every meeting, at least through the end of March, and then we're going to decide on the frequency that we want those visits to happen after that. But the expectation is we want to have a new report at every meeting for the next, you know, through the end of March to be able to know exactly what's happening. And ideally, it's the same report. No evidence of activity going in. That's what we all want to see. It's what we all want to hear. But we need to have the eyes on it after, you know, what's happened over, you know, in recent months, and that's what we're depending on in that. So that's why, again, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of what the expectation is.
Okay.
Okay.
Do it.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. So with that being said, now if you could talk a little bit more about that spreadsheet tracking mechanism. If you could expound on that a little bit for the commission.
Dave, can I just jump in
So-
real quick?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. So I should have asked if anybody had any questions. I'm sorry, John. You're right.
Thanks. Yeah, Steve, just one thing, if you could, when you go and do those inspections, if you could just take pictures, I think that'd be the
Sure.
easiest. Did you take pictures the last time?
I did.
All right, good. And then that's the kind of thing that we can put in the log to
I
verify.
think up on the drive, but I have pictures from a week ago or two, and I could take them next time I go out there.
Yeah, and that way there's a running log of evidence that we can, and I keep saying log, and that's not appropriate for this particular use.
Oh, I get,
Running documentation, that we can refer to. And, yeah, I just wanted to clarify, you had said a commissioner had seen a couple of loads. I have the picture that I submitted of one load. That was one truck.
was that a big dump truck or a small little?
It was a big dump truck. I had given you the pictures. There were 3 pictures, but that was just one truck. I kind of,
I also counted, and you can Google Earth it and see, he's probably got over 150 cut down, if not more, but I don't know how old the stumps are. They look pretty old. So he is also, harvesting off the property.
Yeah.
But the majority of it did come from Lewis Tree, CL&P, local guys, during the storm.
yeah. So
Yeah, I'll get photos.
that was my only point. I just, as long as we, get those photos, so we have something that we can refer to. That I think
Sure.
that works. Thanks,
Cool.
Dave.
Yep, oh, no problem. Does anybody else have any questions regarding this particular, this particular topic? 'Cause I know Steve has some other things he wants to bring up, but I wanted to make sure they're regarding Good Hill Road, if there's anything.
I think we're
Good.
as far as we've gotten with this.
Okay.
Hey, Dave, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
During the hurricane, the tornado we had a lot of trees down. And George had to open up a section up there in the infrastructure to dump the stuff there. Maybe we can sign this guy up that if we have another tornado and we have no place to get rid of this wood, we can drop it there. I mean, it'd be a source of using good lumber instead of letting it go to rot. I mean, you'd have to get an okay from George or from the zoning board to receive this wood. But it'd be a good outlet to have on hand so we don't have piles of wood laying all over the town. Looking to the future.
He'd probably have to get something from ZBA that they wouldn't be authorized to give, because that would turn a residential property into a contractor's yard,
Yeah,
which you can't do.
I'm just thinking outside of the box, that's all.
No. It's that's no problem throwing ideas out there. I'm sorry, I went on mute there for a minute because my dogs were going nuts. And you guys didn't need to
Instead
hear
of,
it.
Actually,
like I was saying, instead of
That
going
might
to
be
waste.
a
it'd be
mechanism to look into
Right.
and see what would have to be done. At least what procedure that would have to be gone through.
Mhm.
Yeah, just like I
Whether
said,
we
an
actually
emergency,
do it or not is another issue, but
right, just like an emergency service, that's all.
yeah.
Something we can think about, at some point down the road if it comes up again. I'm hoping no more storms that big.
Let's hope not.
Definitely something in the back of our minds. Thanks. All right, Steve, you started talking about the log a little bit.
Yeah, I've got a couple more things on there. Roosevelt Drive, I'm still working on, but I'll add stuff to it, as I go along. And we'll go from there. I don't know if you want other commissioners to have access to it, or you just want to do it through email or put it on the drive, or however you want to do it.
What Steve is referencing is going to be a mechanism or a log to be able to track the activities that are coming into, from a ZEO perspective, complaints, things along those lines. And it's one of a few tracking mechanisms that we're looking at to be able to make it a little bit easier to gather the information and then be able also to present it at our meetings. And so it's something that we're working towards. John, we mentioned at the last meeting, John came together with some good templates, kind of put them together into something that I think is going to work. And I spent a few hours with Steve on last week going through that. And that's something that will be eventually maintained on the shared drive for everybody to be able to view. Because it's going to have his comments and notes and everything on that, I don't think it's necessarily something I would actually put on a public forum for people to look at, but it'll be where Steve can draw his reports to be able to tell us what's happening. What are the hot things that are happening right now? And then for follow-up and for, documentation or enforcement notes or things along those lines, it'll be something where any of the commissioners would be able to go on the shared drive and be able to see it. So I think that's gonna be beneficial for everybody, and that's what we're working towards. And we have other ideas coming too, but I think we, working with Steve, I think we agreed, let's get one thing going and get it going, working well, and then we can build on it from there.
Fine.
And if you guys want to add anything on it, feel free to call, email. I'm fine with that.
Yep. So I think our next step is going to be Steve has started using it. We'll have this available on the shared drive before the next meeting, so everybody will have an opportunity to look at it. And if we can then decide how we want to gather some feedback if anybody has any questions or anything like that. Steve, was there anything else you wanted to throw out there for zoning enforcement, or does anybody have any other questions about that?
Yeah, I got one, Dave, for you.
Okay.
I got a phone call about Franco's Plumbing up on Pine, extended his use. He's got large trucks up there now. He has tanks. I gave Steve a call and asked Steve to go up there and check it out. And then I received a call from Jeff Lutz asking to wait a while. He's supposed to be buying a lot up in the industrial. He's trying to get him to buy a lot up in the industrial area so he can move up there. The only reason I'm bringing this up because I know Steve knows about it, and I want to make sure there's no favoritism out there that he got this stuff piled in his yard again, and we're not doing nothing about it. So I just want to leave it to, let you know what's going on.
I'll take a look into that.
Okay.
I want to get a little more detail about that and kind of see, because you're right. I don't want to present any evidence of favoritism. I mean, obviously we're all concerned about economic development in the town, but it's also not at the expense of current regs as well. So.
Well, this is in a residential area where he put a barn up a few years back. We had a problem with him when he first put the barn up. And the stuff is supposed to be all housed inside, and little by little he started adding and adding. And then I got a phone call this was about 2 or 3 weeks ago when I contacted Steve about this. And I figure I'll leave it in Steve's hand, but I just want the commission to know that I did report it to you guys. And, I'm not, Jeff asked me to wait until he buys the lot up there. So I don't know if you guys want to give him a certain amount of time before Steve steps in or what.
Chairman?
Somebody have a question?
Yes.
Go ahead, Pat.
I think you should probably have a conversation with our economic development director and find out exactly what's going on. Before we take any action on this one way or the other. Did Steve get any complaints, or did somebody just call Pete? I don't know anything about this.
I don't know if Steve got any complaints, but the reason they called me is because I was working with the guy when he was putting the barn up. The guy kept calling me about the barn and everything else he was building. So I guess he still has my phone number. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it apparent from driving by that there's a violation going on?
Oh, yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, and
Ask Steve. I think Steve went up there.
yeah, there was already a complaint about this. I remember we had a long issue about this guy, encroaching it was supposed to be a cottage industry. And this is the same problem with the other property that we were just discussing. And we have to protect not just the economic development, but also the property values of the residential lots adjoining this. So, it's important that we find out what the economic development coordinator has to say, but we've already been down this road with this guy.
Well, that was a couple of years ago, though, John, and there's been no problem up until right now. So maybe this is a temporary situation. This is why we should look
to find out more.
Well, the reason he contacted me because he was putting tanks right on the border, right on the line over there. So that's why he contacted. There's long propane tanks, I believe they are. They're right out there in the open. So I don't know if it's if it's within that 25-foot margin or not. I don't know. Ask Steve. He should have won. I think Steve went up there.
His cottage permit says no outside storage visible from the road. And it's been going on for a long time. He added a big propane tank, a propane truck, a trailer. plumbing trucks. He has a warehouse in Beacon Falls, but I think he outgrew it.
Mhm.
So, how much time you want to give him?
So Steve, can you do me a favor? Can you do a drive-by and send me an assessment in terms of what you can see from the road, exactly what's going on? Get that over to me so I can have a conversation with the economic development director and find out exactly what's happening, and then we can decide how we want to, how or what, or if we have to do anything.
And
So
if
I think that's prudent from what Pat was saying. Let's gather the facts before we start jumping into taking actions. John mentioned that also.
I mean, one other point is, if I'm not mistaken, you're not supposed to be keeping a propane truck in a residential zone. I think that's a whole
No,
separate issue.
We went with that with Oxford Propane, if you recall.
right.
I think he's parking that. I've seen it parked outside a few times, along with 2 plumbing trucks, rack body trucks, propane tanks, tubs, toilets. I think he's keeping the truck inside the building. Regardless, he's
Doesn't-
extended his use. So I'll get some photos. I'll report back to Dave or the commission. You guys make a decision.
Come back to me, because I don't want to wait 2 weeks to do it. I'd rather come back, and then that way I can report back to the commission pictures and what the conversation was about.
And I think the chairman should definitely have a discussion with the economic
That's
development.
exactly where I'd be going with it. Yeah, exactly. Find out what's going on. Hey, and taking this not from the fact that somebody called Pete, but this comes up on occasion. It made me think about it. I know we're trying to kind of formalize the process a little bit for the way complaints come in, getting them documented on the, on forms, getting them into a log. Does it make sense that if we have people, citizens, residents calling us directly, that we should be referring them to the ZEO to get this in so it's centralized?
I would
in
think
one
so,
spot?
yes, Dave, absolutely.
Yep.
I was gonna suggest that if anybody calls me, I'm just gonna turn them over to Steve and make sure it's logged.
Well, Dave, I did that, and they tell me when they call the office, and nothing against about this regime. The last one, nothing got done. The guy knows, and that's why they contact. I get around town all the time. I'm almost in every store here.
So,
And
hey,
I'm
what are you
pretty well known.
are you talking about, Gary Franco, or what are you talking about?
I'm sorry. Repeat.
Are you talking about Gary Franco or something different where they call the office?
I'm talking about Franco, Gary Franco here. About calling the office, I'm in favor. Believe me. Matter of fact, I give him Steve's phone number now.
Thanks.
Right, and I need and I need to know if something's not being responded to or something like that, because again, I don't know, I can't talk about the past, I can only talk about my own personal experience, but I need to know that a complaint came in if we didn't take any sort of action or things like that. So that would be something I would want to follow up with Steve and find out what the background is, which again goes back to why we have this log in place, so now we can track it. We got to call in, this is what we did, and these were the actions that Steve took, and we would be able to answer these going forward. So that's why we're putting something like this into place. So that's why that was the point where I think we have to trust the system because it's new in terms of what we're building. And if something comes into you directly, then we should be referring that to the ZEO. And if you don't hear anything that comes out of it, then let me know.
That's why I call Steve. He jumps right on it. I believe he was out there in a day or two when I told him about the situation. And that way gave me the chance to get back to the person that called me,
Right, and then you
something's gotta be done.
It shouldn't be on you in terms of getting back to it. It should be the person should be coming back, should be working with Steve directly. That's where I'm trying to get it to. I don't want them calling you for you to get involved in terms of what the actions are and stuff like that. That's why we have a ZEO.
Oh, I understand that, but you gotta understand too, I'm a Democrat and I need the votes.
Oh, is it your term that's coming up?
Yes, it is, sir. Yes, it is. I keep missing by 200-300 votes. I gotta get more votes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just add, I think it's a great idea to organize it so that if something comes to a commissioner, it gets referred to the ZEO. Because I take it a step further. If we ever had to go to court, at least we have our processes continually filed. The ZEO follows up, works on the complaint. We have our record and we develop a good record. We don't want to go to court with stuff if we don't have to, but certainly if we had to, we'd have a good record and we have a good process. And I think what the commission is doing is excellent. It makes it a lot easier to bring people into compliance, which we hope to do without having to go to court.
Great, thank you, Kev.
Sure.
Dave, there is an article in the zoning regs about this enforcement, which is kind of broadly written, and it basically says that the Planning and Zoning Commission is responsible along with the ZEO. But obviously, to amplify on what Attorney McSherry said, you need a process that's a little bit more streamlined than, the regulations, which this particular article is very broad and just kind of directs us towards the general statutes. And so the fact that we're trying to kind of limit it and make it a little bit more user-friendly, have the complaints kind of streamlined into the ZEO, I think it's only going to help us in the long run.
And you can't forget, we meet every 2 weeks also. So if a complaint comes in, it's gonna sit there for 2 weeks. And then if you don't get around to it before the commission gets to it, it's gonna be 3 to 4 weeks. And then
Actually, I
people are
would
gonna
just,
get-
I might disagree with that a little bit, only because I know what Steve has brought to me, in between that, rather than having some things wait. I've referred some things to Attorney McSherry to kind of get a jump on it in terms of responses and complaints like that, because I don't want to see things sitting. And Steve has done a pretty good job about forwarding
Oh, yeah.
things that were more timely than and holding off on others.
If it's
Definitely.
a serious violation, we'll address them right away. But if it's something, shed over the setbacks or no permit, that's easy stuff. But if it's something that needs addressed, we'll take care of it right away.
Pat, I saw your hand raised.
I was just gonna say that, I have always referred any complaints to the office, specifically to the zoning enforcement officer. Sometimes I'll chat with somebody who has a question
Mhm.
and try to help them out. But any complaint, I refer to the office, so it does go on record. Quite often, a lot of these things are just neighbor issues, and there's certainly not anything I want to get in the middle of.
No. I don't blame you. All right, so, all right, Steve, unless there's anything else that's super pressing, do you have anything else you needed to add for zoning enforcement, or can we move on?
No, we can move on.
All right, cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the minutes, I saw the January 19th minutes pop up. I'm not sure if you had the February 2nd ones done.
Nope, you guys just have the January 19th.
Move to
Everybody had a chance to
approve the January 19th regular meeting minutes as presented.
So be it. Me.
I made the motion,
Pete?
Pete seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
All right, that carries, great. Invoices, we have a couple of
I
invoices
have
here.
2 invoices. I have one from East Coast Car Care because Steve broke the car for $99.75. There was, I guess, some transmission issues. Motion to pay.
Second.
Pat and Pete, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And then I have an invoice from Attorney McSherry for various applications, I guess, for a total of $1,805. Motion to pay.
So be it.
Pat and Pete, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just so the commission knows, I've had discussions with, with Attorney McSherry, and we also, we don't have the COG position anymore. And I think it makes sense that if we have questions or things we want to get explored, that we utilize him to whatever extent that we need to be able to utilize him for. And I tried to plan for that accordingly, with the beginnings of the budget conversations as well too. So, this, in terms of these, if the invoices look like a little bit more than what they have in the past, it's because I do plan on, utilizing the resources, because I think it's smart. So I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up in terms of what my mindset is with that.
Do we get the information on some of these, like Timberlake, the case with the wetlands, permit for inland wetlands?
Yeah, that's going to follow up now in other business, now that we're done with the invoices here. in terms of any other business the commission deems necessary for discussion. I have one item that I want to throw out to you folks, but since Kevin's on the phone, Kevin, if you could kind of give us a heads up in terms of some of the things that we had in process here.
Yes, sure.
Oh, excuse me.
yes.
If we can't talk about anything that's in litigation right now.
Correct.
Okay, so I just want, before we even just jump in, because I know Timberlake came to wetlands,
Correct.
Right.
but we're
Oh.
currently still in litigation with them. So anything that we say about them needs to be discussed under an executive session.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say, because I know there was a big, everyone was so excited that they came to wetlands.
I'm purposely not talking about it. I'm gonna leave it up to our land use attorney to kind of give us an update in terms of where we are with everything.
So Moose Hill Estates was the request to pretty much do away with that subdivision since it expired. What I did was I reached out to Attorney Condon to discuss it with him. And last meeting, I think the commission will remember, is that I suggested that if nothing came from the town, we really didn't have anything before us to act on. So Attorney Condon indicated that he was going to discuss it with the selectmen and decide what they were going to do next. In many ways, the commission, I think, was a little prescient by trying to say, if they're going to do something, we find out what they're going to do with that property. I think that's the concern of the selectmen as well, that they want to know what's going to happen. And they're not in a hurry to release any of the deeds that have come to them or the bond at this time until they hear a little bit more detail what's going to happen next on that property. So the commission, you guys were very aware of that. So I'll keep you posted on what I hear next from Attorney Condon.
Great, thank you.
On Riverview subdivision, that's, if you remember, that's that lot 5 and 6. Jesse Judson, the engineer, did call and we reviewed my letter that I sent to him about doing the line merger, the lot merger. And we discussed it, went over point by point. I explained to him Commissioner Kerwin's point about owning the access way, and he understood what he had to do with that. So he's going to be working on some mapping and coming back in to the commission with that. I also emphasized that whatever happened there, we'd have to have a release executed in favor of the commission and town in order to conclude that transaction. So they're working on some more detail on that, and they'll make its way back to us.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay.
Anybody else have any other questions for Attorney McSherry? No? Okay. The other point that I wanted to throw out to you folks, and Brett unfortunately is not here, but on his own initiative, he actually went into our website, the P&Z website, and really did a very comprehensive review in terms of how things were laid out. In terms of what was on there, what content is outdated versus things along those lines. And he's had some experience working with the town on other website projects as well. So he put together a nice list, but I think it's something that it's worth having some input from a couple other people. So he's going to be reaching out, but I wanted anybody to think about it. If one or two of you would like to just, very short term, be able to kind of take a look and talk to Brett about some of the things he saw, some additional feedback. I think that would be good for us because you look at it, you have forms that are scattered in some couple different places. You have some documents up there that are outdated. Just from a business standpoint, it could take somebody quite a few clicks to get where they want to go, when really the most popular things should be up front and readily available. So it's kind of looking at it from that perspective. So that's happening right now. If you are interested in giving him a hand, you could drop him a line on the side. We can form a quick subcommittee and literally come back, and then he can work with the town clerk to make the updates.
That sounds reasonable.
Sounds good. Okay. All right. Is there anything else that the commission wants to bring up for discussion?
That should do it. Me, all set, thank you.
Yeah, everybody's shaking their heads, which is a good thing. All right. In that case, it's 8:31, so just a hair over an hour. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Pat and Pete on fire.
Take it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Have a great night, everybody. Thank
Good night,
you.
everybody.
Good
All
night, all.
right, good night,
Be safe. Night.
Night,
Good night.
Night.
good night.
night.
Night, John.